Maverick 100.9 Aggie Lands Country Alternative. It's Corliss making a new friend today. As I do, we'd like to introduce you to Randy Beal. How are you?
Just fantastic. And you?
I'm doing great. I am a little worried though. Am I saying your last name correctly? I probably should have asked beforehand.
It's Randy Beal.
Beal,
Yes.
all right. For once,
Yeah.
I'm always the girl that messes up all words.
Oh, I
Funny
can
for
relate to
someone who talks for a living, right?
Right. Well, I've known a few folks like you, and they all have difficulties at times. So
But we blow past it. Well, I
that's
was
it.
happy to get word that you had released a really cool new single. So I'm really excited to chat about it. It's called Grandpa Said. So I am assuming that this is something coming from the heart.
Yeah, I like to write about life experiences. As far as writing goes, when it comes to something like something Grandpa said, you got to be able to put yourself in my song.
Yeah,
And I've listened to a lot of the great songs, and everybody interprets them different because you put yourself into that song. That to me, that's the mark of a good song. So that's what I strive for. And so I didn't really have a grandfather, a biological one, but I had a grandfather who was married to my grandmother. He was a step grandfather, and he
me too.
took me hunting and fishing, and did stuff with me. With the other, my mother's dad died when I was young, so I didn't really get to know him, but he was kind of an ornery old coot. And my dad's dad just never had nothing to do with any of us. He was run off with some other one, those typical stories. And so
Yeah.
I never had much for him. But Bob was always the guy that did stuff, took me out fishing, hunting, shooting skeet, things like that. He was just a really good guy. He was a truck driver. When he was in town, he'd come get me and we'd go do stuff. So, and everybody has that, I say everybody, most everybody. And I did talk to a DJ the other day over in Australia. He goes, I didn't have a grandfather, but I kind of got to live with one through your song. And I was like, well, that's really a cool experience at that point.
Yeah.
So that's where kind of Grandpa said came from something similar to that. And it just kind of morphed out one day. And I was like, wow, that's kind of a cool song. Started playing it at gigs, and everybody's like, man, we love that song. When are you going to record it? And then probably a friend of mine, I think, Ken Murray was on me. Are you going to record
Oh,
that song and put it out?
absolutely.
And I'm like, I don't know. You need to put that song out. And I'm like, all right, we recorded. I sent it to him. And he goes, I love it. You got to push it to radio. So here we sit. So,
Ken is a bigger cheerleader than I am, and that's pretty darn big. But it's funny you say not everyone relates to it, and mine is like exact. My dad's father passed away right at when my dad graduated high school, back when he was in the Navy. So long before I was ever dreamed up. And so I didn't have a grandfather on that side, on my paternal side. And then my grandmother was actually married 3 times. The first husband, my mom's father, was out of their life. The second one had passed. So my grandpa Bill actually got married to my grandma not long after I was born, but I never knew him any other way. There was no step this, and same with my mom. Like, that's not her stepdad. And
yeah,
the spookiest part of that is he's the only one I got left. Is my grandmother and my father both passed last year. So mom and my grandpa are really all that's still there. So I'm glad that you kind of had that same experience I did. It's kind of a he didn't have to be type of situation.
right. And cherish those two that are left because I've lost both my parents. I think my mom's been gone right at 10 years. My dad's been gone 23 years. And they're still with me, though. I've kind of
Oh
learned
yeah.
that, my life changed after each one passed, and it had to be basically them driving the bus a little bit for me, the way I call it. So,
I've become a pro at like finding my dad in everything. It's like he's around every corner. He's almost with me more now than when he was alive. It's
mm,
spooky.
oh, yes, it definitely is. That's the one thing. So my music stuff started 9 years ago. Started playing guitar 11 years ago, I guess. Yeah, 11 years ago. I guess my mom's been gone a little longer than I thought she had. Anyway, I bought a guitar right after she passed within a few months and started dinking around, going to play and hang out at deer camp, play a few chords and stuff. Never thought about singing. That was like the farthest thing out there. And it kind of added. So I wish they could have seen some of this. And I'm assuming at this point they are sitting up there laughing at this point. So.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing because that is so relatable. I absolutely love it. Well, we got to let everybody have the song and then we'll be back with Randy Beal. But first, here is Grandpa Said on Maverick 100.9. Due to copyright, Brian Broadcasting is not licensed to air this single for you in podcast form, but you can now find it anywhere that you stream and download music. And today's interview continues now. Grandpa Said on Maverick 100.9. We got the debut from Randy Beal. And Randy and I are talking deep. This is a deep song about, someone in your life that you truly love and finding those who are gone in different spaces. And I'm sure you could tell anybody better than I could how important it is to live your life that way. So even music is a recent thing to you, inspired by loss.
Oh, yes. I mean, I've always wanted to play. I grew up around Kelly Shapa, going to see him at dance halls, Mundo Airwood. I don't know if you know who those two guys were, but they were huge in the Houston, and Mundo was national. He wrote stuff that Mel Tillis recorded and stuff.
Oh.
Hung around the Houston scene back in the 70s when all the bands were playing live, Randy Corner, all those guys. So never did play. I always wanted to, but nobody'd ever teach me anything and didn't want to ask. So decided later on in life, I bought that guitar right after my mom passed at the pawn shop, took it home and started fiddling around. And I'd hung around a couple of young guys when they were back starting out early, a guy named Cody and a guy named Jesse. I think you might know both of those two pretty well.
I do know both of them very well, very well.
Yeah, and then
Jesse
plus
especially my favorite songwriter in the world, and he knows that.
Yeah, I was talking to him yesterday. He's got some cool stuff coming up. So, and then I was listed earlier. There's a funny thing too is you interviewed James Tollerson a little while back.
Yeah.
And I lived up in
Abilene because I do I think it's somewhere around 150 to 200 interviews a year.
Yeah, I met him up in Abilene when I was living up there a few years ago. I had a birthday party on my 60th, and he came up, and it was a pretty cool event. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. Got to playing and hanging out with those guys, and started playing along. And then I had a good friend of mine named Dave Becker here in the Woodlands that hadn't played in years and started playing. And he's like, "You can sing," and I'm like, "You're nuts." So I started doing it, and just for grins and giggles, and so everybody would get a laugh out of me sounding bad. And so I was up at Pacific Yard in Conroe. I don't know if you've ever been there or not. It's a really neat venue.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Oh my gosh, I sold merch there one night. I'm also a part-time merch girl.
Okay. I don't know if you've ever met Benny Bryant. He plays around town up here in this area. And Benny was like, "Get up here and do a couple of songs." So I did a couple of songs. I left and I went down the street to Dalton's to see a friend for a few minutes on my way home. And I walked in and I was walking down around the place. And this guy goes, "You were at Pacific Yard a while ago." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Man, you're awesome. You sound just like Robert Earl Keen." And I was like, "Well, I'll take that compliment."
Oh, especially here in County Land, man. We like that type of compliment.
Oh, I know. Well, and I got another story. We're probably going to have to cut me off here at some point. But anyway, I was like, wow, this guy's not in my circle. So it's not your friends and family just being nice and telling you that stuff. And this started happening regularly. I said, well, I guess there must be something to this. So, I don't know, a year later, I was playing at the Winchie Brothers in Spring. We were doing a gig down there and had a friend show up. And I said, all right, I got the utmost authority on Robert Earl Keen music here tonight. So I did The Road Goes On Forever. Yeah. And I got done and I go, all right, Terry, so do I sound like Uncle Robert? She goes, oh, hell yes. I just sent him the video. And I'm like, oh, God. So there's videos on Robert Earl Keen's phone out there somewhere.
Oh, no.
Playing this song. I haven't run into him again since then, but I figure one of these days we'll get a laugh out of it. So
I can't even tell you how many embarrassing videos people have of me on their phone somewhere out there. There's one. Now I'm going to start trailing off. Randy, you and I are bad for each other, but it was after I started Maverick 100.9, the first time that I was eligible for nominations with the Texas Regional Radio and Music Awards. And it's a really, really big one. We were nominated for Large Market Radio Station of the Year and Large Market Personality of the Year. Well, all the personality nominees were my friends, including
Right.
James Cook, who I do a show with. I do a syndicated Christmas show with. So we actually worked together for a part of the year. And so we're sitting next to each other and we thought we were making this funny video, like booing everybody as they announce the nominees.
Right.
And this was for personality. And then they said the winner is Corliss. And James still had the phone on my face and I just freeze because I'm like contemplating in my head. I'm like, there's no way they could have just said my name. That's not right. And then afterwards, I told him, I was like, oh my God, do not ever post that. Cause I look like such an a-hole thinking that it makes it look like I thought I was going to win. But like, I had no idea. I was the least expected one to win that award. So like, I made myself look like a total jerk. I am not good at making jokes. I'm just not. Oh goodness. But the videos that followed are posted everywhere and I really wish they weren't because they're all of me crying and I cried off all of my makeup in like the beginning of the night. It was horrible.
Right.
Oh man. Well, Randy, it is so great to get to know you. I guess one kind of final question, a little personal question. We were kind of on the topic of, you didn't start playing guitar as a kid or in college, the normal story that we're used to hearing. So support wise, it sounds like you've got a lot of friends on your side. And I feel like Texas is the only place where you could start a music career at any point in your life because we do it more for joy here than we do from a professional standpoint. So what's that kind of transition looked like for you?
It's been all about, I mean, I've got some pretty heavy hitters in the Texas music scene that have been supporting me. I mean, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And those guys are just like, good for you, man. Go for it. Give it a shot. You never know. It's just been surreal. It's like I sit there and I get up, go play with these guys and you just go, how in the world did I wind up here? Because, to me, this whole thing is surreal. I never, ever imagined I would be singing, playing, much less writing songs and having them heard on the radio. I mean, I was number 9 in Australia a couple of weeks ago on the chart. I mean, just the fact that my music's being played all over the world just blows my mind. And it's been that support. I mean, everybody got behind it. The guys that played on the song were Don Vickers. I don't know if you've met him before or not, but
I don't think
great talent. Jody Cameron played steel on Grandpa Said.
yeah.
And Tim Crouch played the fiddle, the mandolin, and the acoustic leads on it. And those guys, man, they just took it to a whole nother level. And I'm just like, how did I get here? This is pinch me. Am I asleep? am I dreaming here? So, but it's the Texas music scene really encourages it. And I was talking in an interview a week ago or so. It's like, yeah, I mean, we've got some of the most amazing talent. It goes from the old school crying in your tears country to rock and southern rock, a little of everything. And everybody's supportive. The open mic scene around the Houston area and other areas is getting bigger. And that brings the young talent. You had Peyton Riley on a couple of weeks ago. We first met her at her first few open mics out here. And it's just like watching
14.
all these people.
Is that insane? 14.
Yeah, she showed up. We were just like, well, young lady, you're amazing. It was about a year ago. Yeah.
It's
And
just,
then
oh, please continue.
and the crowd that she's running with, those young, they're all about her age. There's uh Dylan Dylan Reese Rice. I can't ever pronounce his name right, but they're just amazing. They play, and the Texas scene nurtures that. I've seen Fowler do that with, I remember when Cody first started going out and opening for Fowler, and Fowler took him in and did stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a heck of a scene, man. You just, everybody takes care of everybody for the most part.
And I've had the exact same experience, which is why I was curious. When we started something so niche like Maverick 100.9, where, the first idea was the Aggie Land artists and playing our actual local people on the radio. Nobody had really done that. And then, the idea of just having a Texas country music station in general, it was risky. But then came the interviews, and we found our new outlet. And, just the love from this community or Texas country listeners anywhere, because we also have apps and Alexa abilities and stuff like that. I found how to share everyone because, behind the scenes, we all support each other.
Right.
And it's so cool to get to, even though not everything makes it into row, there's a lot that goes behind programming, but 4 days a week for 10 months out of the year, I get to meet somebody completely new that people listening in this area probably never would have heard of. And that is my favorite part of my job. It's weird to call it a job, to be honest with you, but I'm like, every day I'm like, here's something else to add to your playlist. And it's fun. And I'm not even from here. I'm not even from Texas. I specifically moved here for that mentality, that support,
Yeah, well, neither was Ray Benson. So, and he's a Texas icon. So, hey, there
Yes.
you go.
Yes. I'll take that comparison. Thank you, sir.
You got here as quick as you could.
I got
Exactly.
here as quick as I could. I came a running.
Bless you for what you do, because I worked with Ken Murray back, God, it's been almost 40 years ago. Me and him, he and I, Mary McCoy, Mike Cannon. So I worked with, I think, 4 different Hall of Famers in the Texas radio music, and basically, and Ken and I always tried to support everybody. We did a concert one time for a week. I know we're probably going to run along here in a minute. You can cut whatever you need out. But we did a week-long concert series with the little AM radio station we worked in Conroe back in the mid-'80s.
Yeah.
And then we did a Sunday, and the program manager went home to Louisiana, and director goes, or the station manager goes, don't do but a little bit of that live. Y'all can do some of it live. Well, Ken said, screw it. We did the whole 4 hours, the whole day live on the radio. Actually, it was more than 4. We had all kinds of people come out and play that day live. It was right after the Urban Cowboy thing came out, and they died live music in Houston, and we were trying to help keep that alive and stuff. So, that's what it takes, is radio supporting the local music. Texas had, gosh, Nashville comes here to get their talent money.
Oh, 100%. That all of our artists have publishing deals. So people don't realize when they're listening to country stations that aren't Maverick, you're still listening to Texas country writers. Like, pay attention, read through who writes your songs. Like, it's even funny you bring up Ken and radio support, which is so nice of you to say. But when I first moved here, Ken was technically my competition. If I don't like to use that word, because I don't really believe in it. And but he welcomed me so openly. And then I started Maverick, and the compliments just came rolling in. Ken, as my competition, was such a supporter of mine. And he is so legendary that it was outrageous that he even thought, typically guys like that just, gosh, if you're young and you're blonde, you get shoved to the side immediately. you're not looked at like a well-educated woman or a programmer or any type of talent really. And he never saw me in that light. He always believed in me. And so special shout outs to Mr. Ken Murray. We sure do miss you here, buddy.
I
And
know. We wish he would get back on radio again. He's
I
off
know,
there for a while.
I
It's like
know.
sad.
He's
But he like you, has always been a big supporter, and both of us, we always supported all those bands and stuff. And the thing I always tell people, go out, support live music, put an extra 10, 20, whatever you got in the tip jar. These kids are out here working their butts off, and they're not making money doing this.
no,
They're,
they're not.
whoever, especially the guy usually going's paying everybody, and he's the one going home broke every night. So,
Yeah.
and you never know. Like I said, I remember Jesse and Cody and Josh Ward and all those guys when they were just out playing the little local bars around here, and then all of a sudden you look up and go, "Well, looky there,"
Yeah.
You just never know where they're going to get, where they're going to go from there. So,
I agree with that as well.
yeah.
Just like how you never know who you're going to hear at 3:15 on Maverick each day. You never know who you're going to walk into a venue and see. So support them, support it all the way around. You start with Maverick,
Oh,
it goes off elsewhere. And of course, that leads
oh,
me to support Randy Beal. If you like what you heard, go find him. His brand new single is called Grandpa Said. That's available everywhere. Randy, you releasing any other music this year as well?
Oh, probably not till sometime next year. I was just kind of doing this to get out there and get some songwriter creds, but everything keeps pushing and going forward. And I've got another song called Malibu Moon that I'll probably record after the first of the year and let out next summer sometime. So,
Well,
and then I'll be
good.
back sometime after the first year to hopefully get over and play in the Bryan College Station area. I was supposed to play over at Rail and Ride next weekend, but I had to
Yeah.
cancel. I'm
Oh
leaving, so I
gosh.
won't be doing that. So we canceled everything except for Shiner Bach. I'm playing down there on the October the 1st down there. We're going to play down there, but that's about it for the rest of the year now here. See what I can get over there. So, but
Gotta
thank
have
you
a
so much for your time. I appreciate you doing this, and hopefully everybody likes it and keeps requesting it over there. So
absolutely. And we'll have to get you back once we have that new music too.
sure thing. Sounds good. We'll do that. And when I get back, I'll let you know if y'all got something you need me to come sit out and do a few songs. I'll be glad to come out and do that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you. Appreciate what you're doing. Keep it up.